Welcome back. On today's video, we're going to talk about the top five ways to save yourself some money on a given month. Number one, let's jump right in. Utilities. This particular chart that I have here shows the internet speeds in the Seattle, Washington market for Comcast. But what a lot of people think is when they're thinking internet, they need the fastest speeds possible. That's not always the case because the speed of the internet, the speed that information gets to you, is not determined by the amount of megabits per second you get. It's actually by the latency. Now, we're not going to get all geeky on this video, but what you need to know is, irregardless of the amount of gigabits per second your internet plan offers, generally you're going to get the same latency. And the latency is the time that it takes a packet to get from the internet service to you, and that doesn't usually depend on the speed of your connection. So the reason I've got this up is I wanted to go through just some simple details. If you're a household of 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 or 5, depending on what you do with your internet service, you may not need 1 gigabit per second, 2 gigabits per second, or anything else. You may be fine with this 300 megabits per second. So what you can generally do if you want to take the time to do the calculation is you figure out how much speed you need. So for example, if you're watching streaming videos all the time, let's say you need 10 megabits per video stream. So if you have 2 TVs going, you have 10 plus 10. If you're doing some other internet service, you're doing some other streaming, you have kids streaming, you're watching YouTubes, TikToks, whatever it may be. Let's say that you need another 5 for each of those. Let's say you've got 4 people. Well, you can see that you're well below 100 megabits per second, and chances are in that situation, you're going to be able to use that 300 megabit per second speed. What a lot of these carriers don't show is the upload speeds, and that only becomes important if you're doing, well, they don't show them because usually it's not important to most people, but if you're doing a lot of streaming, Zooms, Google Earth type stuff, or you're uploading imagery, then that's where that would become important. But for most people, what I have found is the lower tier connections are just fine. And if you compare this 2 gigabits per second internet service to the 300 megabit per service, you can save over 50% on a 1-year price. Now that's step one with utilities. Now number two, you'll see here there's a difference between the typical 1-year promo and the typical 5-year price. That's because once you sign up, it rolls it for a year at the promo price, and then they expect you to stick around and pay the higher price. What I have found is in a lot of cases, if you call in and tell them that you're looking to leave, unless they can give you a lower price or retain that introductory price, a lot of times they will. And that saves you an extra $15 a month. Now, will $15 a month change your life? Probably not. But if you get enough $15 a month services or discounts, it starts to add up to be something you can do something with. Another utility that you can look at is cell phones. So the cell phone plan, let's just take this as item number 2 on the list of 5. Most people know the AT&T, T-Mobiles, and Verizons of the world because they're the ones that advertise the most. Everyone has also seen the Ryan Reynolds ads or other ads that talk about Mint Mobile. There's a lot of different opportunities to go with the lower tier carriers. And lower tier doesn't mean they're anything worse. They actually operate over those same networks. For example, Mint operates on the T-Mobile network. Boost operates on either the T-Mobile or the AT&T network. But the biggest difference you get is you don't get frills. You may not get a Netflix bill paid, but you also go from somewhere between $66 and $100 a month or more, depending on your cell phone plan, to Mint has a $30 a month unlimited plan. Boost has a $25 a month unlimited plan. Now, what does unlimited mean in the cell phone world? It means the same thing. You have a certain bucket of minutes that you can use or a bucket of data that you can use, and then it starts throttling you. And so that happens with all of them. But let's take a look at Mint, and if you are not a heavy internet user, so say for example you work in an office all day or you work from home and you have Wi-Fi all day, you are not using the data from your cell phone provider as long as your cell phone is connected to the Wi-Fi network, and you probably don't need more than 5 gigabits per second or 5 gigabits per month because you'll only be using that when you're out of the house or out of the office, traveling around on weekends or evenings. A lot of people can get away with this 5 gig plan, which means your plan goes down to $15 a month. That can be a significant savings. Just between those two, your cable internet bill or your cell phone bill, you could be saving now $1,000 a year, which is money that could be used for other things, of course. So that's number 2. Number 3 on the list is grocery store shopping. The grocery store you shop at can be a big determining factor on how much you spend. This chart right here is put together by Consumer's Checkbook, or checkbook.org, and you can see what it shows here. It's a little bit confusing, so I'll walk through it as best I can in a short form. The averages here are they show the quality of the produce, quality of meat, overall quality, and I'm assuming 100% is the base, is the highest that they would go, and you can see the average quality for produce, meat, and the overall is pretty pathetic based on consumer spending. This is also based on the Puget Sound area, and those who are not familiar with the Puget Sound, that is the Seattle market also. The produce prices, they put in here $100 as just kind of an average, and then if you're at 100, you're at the average. If you're below 100, you're below the average, and if you're over 100, you are paying over the average for produce, meat, and then the overall. I thought this was very interesting because you would expect the higher tier chains to have the better quality produce, right? Well, Albertsons gets actually lower than the average by far at 47% for produce and 40% for meat. I would compare that, well, to Walmart, who does not do very well at all. But then you look down at Winco, and they're not terribly far off. They're a little bit lower, 3 percentage points lower here on the produce quality. They are on par with Albertsons for the meat quality. And let's take a look at the prices here. If Albertsons is at $100, Winco is at 63. So if you're spending $100 at Albertsons, my assumption is, based on what I'm seeing on this chart and what I've actually seen in real life, is you're almost saving $40 a month, or $40 out of every 100 shopping at Winco versus Albertsons. Meat, 78 versus 106, and you're getting the same quality. Fred Meyer actually comes in higher on produce and lower on meat. However, their prices are lower as well. So you don't always get what you pay for depending on where you're shopping. QFC is known in the Seattle market as a premium brand. They do score a little bit higher than Albertsons does on the produce quality, on the meat quality as well, and of course you can see it reflected in the prices here. You're getting higher. So this is another way that you can save money. And what you can do also in this instance is split your shopping. You may go to, let's say, QFC for meat, but if you're buying Cheerios, well, they're going to be the same at Winco versus Albertsons, QFC, Safeway. It doesn't matter. You're going to get the same box of food. And then if you want to take it one step further, there's these store brands that you can buy. So all of these different options, now you can start to see you can be saving hundreds of dollars every single month as opposed to just less than $100 a month. That's groceries. The next one is shopping around. You can save so much money, especially on incidental purchases, items that you don't buy frequently, that you don't buy every month. You can start to see that you can get a much better price. Now, this goes from used cars to boots to tools. There's a lot of different things that people will shop for, and the prices can vary tremendously. So the other day, my wife was shopping for some Sorel Caribou boots because we live in an area where it gets very, very cold, and we don't like our toes to be cold. And if you look at this boot, I just did a quick Google shopping comparison. You can see that if you go to Sorel, you can pay $225 for those. Or if you go to Sportsman's Warehouse, you can get that similar boot for $149. If you start looking at, you want to avoid some of the sites that may not be as reputable, but you can start seeing if you're willing to buy those used. Not everyone's comfortable with that. Some people are. You can save a much more significant amount of money. Poshmark down to $79 for the same $225 for the same item. I was able to just buy a tool, a Milwaukee tool that I wanted to get. And by shopping around on the Cyber Monday sales, I was able to save, I believe, well, the tool that would have normally cost me $249, I got it for $199 with a battery, and that battery is usually $100 by itself. So just keeping your eyes open and not being in a rush to get it right away can save you a significant amount of money. And for number 5, let's go a little bit of a different direction. This is keeping more of your money and actually getting paid for it. There are a lot of banks that do not pay any interest on your savings accounts. Unfortunately, they are making money on you and you're not making anything from them. However, if you look around, a lot of your local credit unions will actually offer a high yield savings account that then pays you for money that you have in your savings account. This is a search that I had Gemini AI do, and it went out and I told it to search the web for the top 10, and it actually gave us 10, as you can see, banks that pay a high yield savings account. The best one it came back with was 5%. 5% is nothing to really scoff at. Now, it's limited to balances up to $5,000. Once you exceed $5,000, you don't get as much interest on it, but you can start seeing going down through this list, there's a couple at 5%, 4.75. I see frequent ones in the 3.5% range. It's free money for having your money sitting in the bank. Now, granted, if you have a lot of money sitting around, you'll probably want to invest it, but this is great for money that is in your emergency fund, or you may have a need for it in the short term within the next year or two, and you may not want to put it in the stock market in case there's any volatility. This is a great way to get paid for having your money sit in an institution and make sure that you can actually keep it from going backwards because of inflation. So that is number 5. Get paid for your money that you have sitting. Make it work for you. I hope this has been helpful to you. If it has, give us a like down below if you'd like to see more content like this and all sorts of other things. Consider subscribing to the channel. And if you know someone this may benefit, please do share. Thanks for being here. We'll see you on the next one.